How you doing? Now looky here, folks. Everybody knows that one of the main reasons the United States of America is in existence today is because our forefathers were in hot pursuit of religious freedom.
I love it. It's hot pursuit time, fly.
And there was a time in American history that it would not have mattered if you were Catholic, a Free Will Baptist, or atheist. Everybody would have agreed shit like that was immoral. And I have often wondered, at what point in American history did it become so socially acceptable to be so immoral? Yeah, I'm talking about shit like that. I wonder if a communist fascist like Joseph Stalin would have figured out the best way to take out a superpower like America was to use religion as a Trojan horse.
When Joseph Stalin gave orders in the 1920s for Catholic seminaries to be infiltrated by young communist agents with his words, "neither faith nor morals," it was homosexuals who did the infiltrating. This intelligence was passed along by Communist Party USA member Bella Dodd, selected to do the actual recruiting and placement of these homo-communist infiltrators. Once these agents worked their way into the system, and some of them advanced, they slowly began introducing little notions here and there meant to sow doubt in the minds of Catholics about church teaching. This was told to church militant by Dr. Alice von Hildebrand, who along with her husband Dietrich von Hildebrand became very good friends with Dodd, practicing homosexuals who, once they reached a certain level, began recruiting other homosexuals into the seminaries as well. And not only were other homosexuals recruited, but good men were blocked from getting in or eventually getting ordained.
Let's hear what a real man has to say about some shit like that.
It is so important that we all understand that it's not only that men can be feminists, it's that men should be feminists as well.
A decided shift in how the church approached poverty, for example, was one of those ideas introduced. In centuries gone by, religious orders were jammed to the rafters with people who wanted to give their life's work to helping the poor or teaching them or all of that kind of work, the corporal works of mercy. But suddenly, in the 1960s, at the same time the church's teaching was being replaced with revolutionary theological notions, a massive push in the area of so-called social justice exploded onto the scene, with many of the same professed goals as Marxist communism. Today, the so-called Catholic social justice movement is barely distinguishable, at least in principle, from the Communist Manifesto.
I wonder if it's a coincidence that about the same time Marxist communism hit the Catholic Church, it also hit American colleges and universities.
For the next roughly 20 years, these men increased in stature and influence, as well as planned for and recruited the next generation of young seminarians, many of them homosexual, who would take over once they had died. So the timeline plays out like this, roughly. For about 20 years, the 1920s and 30s, 1,100 homo-communist agents infiltrate the U.S. Catholic seminaries. The 1940s and 50s, some number of them, at varying rates, because this happened over the course of 20 years, gained strong footholds and positions of influence at various levels of leadership and begin affecting change in theological arenas as well as new approaches to the church's social teachings. In the 1960s and 70s, as they were in their 60s and 70s in their age, they ensured that the new crop of seminarians is very much like them, homosexual and social activists with an emphasis on socialism.
You mean to tell me after some people got positions of power that they used that power to further their own interest instead of the greater good of everybody else? No.
People are starting to connect dots that just 2 weeks ago they didn't even know existed. One of those dots is just how rampant homosexuality is in the priesthood, and not just confined to priests, like they would have you believe, the bishops, but bishops and cardinals, and how other cardinals and bishops have covered all of this up for decades.
So let's take a look at how this Trojan horse is affecting America today, still, all these decades later.
Brownsburg High School is out for the summer, but rising sophomore Aiden Susak is not taking a break from making sure he is called by the right name in class.
I don't want Klug to be restored to that position.
I wonder who Klug is and what he or she did that was so damn offensive.
Former orchestra teacher John Klug speaking with RTV6's Stephanie Wade Tuesday.
I feel the compelled speech of forcing a teacher to take a side on this very highly controversial topic is a violation of our First Amendment rights.
He refused to follow a school policy requiring teachers to call transgender students by the name they prefer, not the one they're given at birth.
So Mr. Klug is a band teacher that refused to get on this political wagon and start doing what these kids told him to do.
Aside from feeling disrespected, Susek says Klug's actions are actually harmful.
Oh, so he is pissed off that the students don't get to run the classroom, that the teacher gets to run the classroom.
To get around the policy, Susek says his teacher used last names for all students.
He started calling all of us by our last names. Like, it was one of those things where he was technically treating all of his students the same.
So you got a little pissed off because your teacher was treating everybody equal and not treating you like you were the special thing that you are.
Klug says he's hoping his termination will be reconsidered. Aiden's family is planning to weigh in on the matter at Monday's school board meeting, speaking in support of the administration and its policies.
You want this teacher fired because he hurt your little feelers. Next!
Anytime you have bullying behavior, you have to push back against the bullies. Otherwise, other people think it's okay to do the same thing.
Okay, so what Mama said is if you don't agree with what I'm doing, then you're a bully and I have the right to get you fired and make sure that your life goes to shit. Because if you two refuse to play in my fairy tale world, I'm gonna take your ass out.
I know he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's not listening to the actual people that this affects.
So if somebody refuses to live in your fairy tale make-believe world, it is harmful to your psyche?
And it just feels incorrect.
Bitches be crazy.
Right in accord with Stalin's original plan a little less than 100 years ago. The aim of the plan was to first remove the church as an obstacle to world domination by socialists, meaning communists, and second, to co-opt its institutions and personnel to help bring the revolution about.
What you talking about, Willis?
A Detroit priest is facing jail time for homosexual assault. Yesterday, Father Patrick Casey was sentenced to 45 days in jail and 1 year of probation for engaging in sexual acts with a 24-year-old male in the confessional who came to him for counseling in 2013.
Was that counseling session better than a coupon or what?
An Argentine prosecutor is demanding the arrest of a Pope Francis protege. A sex crimes prosecutor is calling for the international help in arresting Bishop Gustavo Zanqueta, who's facing trial in Argentina for reportedly sexually abusing seminarians. The bishop has failed to respond to multiple phone calls and emails since his return to Vatican City earlier this year. Zanqueta has been living in Pope Francis's residence since 2017 after a sex scandal forced him to flee Argentina.
Let me make sure I got this right. The Pope is pissed off because America won't take in more refugees because he is too busy taking in fugitives? Next!
Verdicts will be handed down Monday in a disturbing case involving priestly abuse of deaf-mute children. The details of the case were exposed after multiple deaf-mute victims from the Provolo Institute in Argentina came forward several years ago, alleging rape and sexual assault by at least 2 priests and a gardener, who targeted the children because they could not speak up for themselves. Although the victims informed then Cardinal Bergoglio in Argentina of the abuse, they say he did nothing to stop it.
Let's see what a child advocate has to say about grown-ass men preying on little kids.
Can you come up here? You look gorgeous. Any haters, just go away, because if you don't like it, then don't watch it.
Here's an actual customer out here. What's the best kind of firework to buy?
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Well, the sign says that it's 4 quarters for an hour, but a quarter only gets you 15 minutes. So if my math is correct, that's not an hour.
That's not an hour.
Not an
but
hour.
It is. And also...
A quarter, 15 minutes?
Help! Oh, this is so bad. Help! I got out of the car to get the ice off the windshield wipers. The keys are sitting in the ignition right there. And somehow the door locked. I'm in Laurel by the Target store off 202. Boss, send help. And so I'm reporting through a window.